Hello and welcome to yet another character spotlight. My name is Ollie, aka Soul Warrior in Rivengard, and today we are looking at one of the most exciting units in this game. The unit we're talking about today is none other than Naevys, the Ranger. So let's go down. You can see that my Naevys is not like super pimped out at the moment. I just was able to get her to uncommon status, but no worries folks, no worries, don't go anywhere. I have some help in this video. I got some co-producers basically, and I'm gonna be able to show you like the most pimped out versions of Naevys you have ever seen, and I guarantee you 200% you can get your money back if I'm lying to you. You're gonna learn something new about this unit in this video. So let's not waste any time, let's get started. Number one thing I would like to talk about, normally I don't do this, to be honest. I'm not like the biggest art lover out there, but can we all take a moment to look at how amazing Naevys looks? Like in terms of artwork, I think she's one of my favorite units in the game, to be honest. The haircut, like the side mohawk basically that she has going, with the bird and everything, and then she's also got the lance in her hand, ready to stop opposing units that are like trying to get by her. More power to her. This is like for many reasons the favorite unit of a lot of guys, and I see a lot of people running around with the Naevys character face as their in-game avatar. I am more of a Tanamo guy, but Naevys is a very close second for me. Enough about the art. I know you guys are not here to hear about me talking about art. So let's look at the fundamentals. Naevys is a blue rogue. So rogues do more damage against the mage class. This is something that is very crucial, because what do mages do? Mages tend to stand in the back and attack from a distance. So if you're a rogue, you want to be ranged, to be honest, because that makes it much easier for you to close in on those mages and do damage to the mages. So in that sense, Naevys is kind of worse on paper when you compare her to someone like a Gix. Gix also has a ranged attack, and he even has an AoE attack. We're not going to talk too much about Gix. Well, actually, let me take that back. We're going to talk about a lot about Gix today in this video. So Gix is a really good unit because he's ranged, he is a rogue, he can deal with mages. So Naevys doesn't do that herself. She is not a ranged unit, she is a melee unit. That is where a lot of people stop looking at Naevys very closely. They think, yeah, I'm not sure, this unit might not do that much. But they are wrong. They are extremely wrong. Let me tell you, Naevys is one of the best units in this game. She's one of the best combo enablers in the game, if not the best combo enabler in the game. Before we talk about all of that combo potential, we just want to stop, we want to go over the fundamentals, and the other fundamental that you really need to know and that a lot of people forget about is Polearm. To really show you what Polearm can do, let's go to the Great Desert Battle 38 in the Elite campaign, because that's the one level that I remember where Polearm is really like screwing us over a little bit. So this is the level where you normally start with someone like a Dorger, like you basically start with your best units. It doesn't really matter what units you're playing. So let's say we are coming up with a plan for this level, and we're saying, all right, I think my Gix is just gonna move forward, and then I'm gonna have a unit, like a ranged unit, like an Accio, and he's gonna go up there and hit the mage on the top and take him out. Something like that is basically your idea for this level. And then you wanna move with your Accio from here to this guy over here, and for some reason the game tells you he's out of range, and you're wondering why is that guy out of range? Why can I only move one spot? And the reason is Polearm. This warrior right here, this palace guard, does have a polearm, and that means that your mounted unit cannot get past him. Like normally you would feel like, hey, I want to go with Accio from here all the way, like way further. I'm scrubbing my finger here, but I can't. And the reason is because these palace guards, they do have polearm, and they don't let you past their position.
You shall not pass!
So that is the first part of Polearm, but wait, there is more. The other fact that I keep forgetting about is the fact that Naevys deals 50% more damage to all mounted units. And there is a mounted unit in this game that is extremely popular, and that happens to be a mage. And that means that Naevys is basically your worst nightmare if you're a big fan of Tim Tim. Tim Tim is mounted and he's a mage. So Naevys against Tim is a one-sided battle. There's like next to nothing that Tim can do. Naevys does extra damage for being a rogue and extra damage for having Polearm. So she's eating Tim-Tims for breakfast. She really likes her crab sandwich in the morning. So now that we got the fundamentals down, let's look at her stats. And I understand that this is not like very insightful video if I'm just showing you the stats of an Naevys. With a level 11, at the moment we are looking at 130 health, 56 physical damage, some magical armor. None of this is like really impressive, and it doesn't really tell you that much. That's why I reached out, and I want to give a special shout out to everybody who helped me with this video. We got Blau Anja, or Anja, from the German Brothers, leader of German Brothers. She gave me her character screens, which are really useful, which we're going to take a look at in a second. We do have infinite insights. I'm not making this up. Infinite insights about Naevys by Raisin from the German Brothers. He helped me so much with this video. This is basically his video, and I'm just his conductor relaying those messages to you. And then I also had a lot of help from Xaldarian from my team, as well as Thunder, who also helped me out with a little information here and there. And then last but not least, I want to give a shout out to Lord Nakko, because he also answered some questions that I had about the unit. Without further ado, let's look at the stats of a better Naevys. So here we see the level 35 pimped out version of a Naevys that Anja is playing. So it's at 41k power. That is pretty impressive. She does have 3 stars, so some extra upgrades have been gone into that unit. Keep that in mind. We do have 1228 health, 480 physical damage, and 478 magical armor. That doesn't look bad at all. To give you an idea of how good that is, let's compare it to another rogue. I got 2 rogues at level 35. On the one hand, we got Giggs. Giggs is at 980, 360, 344. He's missing 1 star. He's only got 2 rather than 3. But it suffers to say that he's not going to get quite to the same level as Naevys. That makes sense because Giggs is a ranged unit. Let's look at another unit that is not ranged but a rogue, Tanamo. She has 940, also a lot less. She does, however, do 442 physical damage. So in that sense, she's close to Naevys with a 480. Tanamo has only 266 magical armor, however, but she is flying. So this is not exactly an apples to apples comparison, but generally speaking, in terms of stats, I mean, Tanamo is at 1 pink star rather than 3 pink stars, like this Naevys that we see at Anja. But generally speaking, it certainly looks like Naevys got a lot going for her in terms of the stats. She's pretty impressive in terms of the stats. Let's take it one step further, because we also have a Naevys that is all the way pimped out. This is a level 50 unit by Raisin. Look at that beauty. 190k power, 5 pink stars. This is a legendary unit if I've ever seen one. This one is having 1900 life, so a lot that it went up. It's level 49, sorry, it's not level 50, level 49, but I mean, we can tell this is pretty impressive. 555 physical damage, 680 armor. So she is really good in terms of the scaling. She's also wearing some ridiculous equipment, by the way. That equipment alone is worth more than my house that I live in. Raisin is a freak, in the best sense of the word. In terms of stats, Naevys has absolutely nothing to hide. She is an absolute powerhouse in terms of the stats. But I know that most of you know that this game is not all about stats. It is about using your heroes and making the most of their active and passive abilities. So let's next take a look at that. So the active ability of Naevys is the Swooping Hawk. This is a very interesting ability because it deals a wave of damage from an initial target up to 2 targets behind it. There is a very big difference when we compare this ability to the active ability of Queen Akeshru, the second to last unit that we had in a spotlight. Because for Queen Akeshru, everybody has to be lined up perfectly in one straight line. If there is 2 units, then there is a free spot, and then there's a few more units. The active ability of Queen Akeshru will only hit the 2 guys that are lined up perfectly. This is not the case for the Swooping Hawk. So if you have an opponent, then there's a free spot in between, and then there's another opponent. The Swooping Hawk is going to deal damage to the first target and then deal damage to the 3rd target. It's not gonna apply the damage for the second target to the unit that is the last one, but you're still able to hit 2 units with 1 active, which would not be possible in the same situation with Queen Akeshru. So that is something that you really need to understand about the Swooping Hawk. The other thing that you want to know, of course, is how much damage is this ability doing when you got it all the way pimped up. This is what it's doing at level 35. We're talking about 780 damage to the first target, and then we got 393 and then 195. That is pretty good. Let's go one step further, because we can actually see what the Swooping Hawk is gonna do at level 49 as well as level 50. Level 50, this is where we need to look here. 2634 damage on the first target, 1300 on the second, and 650 on the third. Again, very big thanks to Raisin, who also shared with me something else, and this must be news to you because there is no chance that you have a comparison of all level 50 units in this game. This is, in fact, the second highest damage, the second after the Noble Charge from Sir Florianus, that any unit in the game has. So let me just break that down for you. There are abilities that affect several units, something like a Tim Tim special, and then there are abilities that affect only one target or several targets, but you have to basically aim at one target. That would be an ability like the one of Naevys. And she has the second highest out of all of them. That is ridiculous considering she can hit up to 3 targets. With a Noble Charge of Sir Florianus, it makes sense that it does more damage because he only hits 1 unit. It also kind of makes sense that the Swooping Hawk of Naevys is doing this much damage because it only does damage. So when you compare it to the other effects in the game, where you're dealing damage to a single target, they always have that little extra. So if we are looking at an effect of, let's say, the Meteorite of Ardasi, it also does something, it displaces the unit. The same is true for the Noble Charge, although it's still doing more damage. The same is true for an effect like the one of Gibbo and Gobbo. Now I understand that this video has already been going on for a little bit, and I promise you we're gonna get to some real life examples of what this unit can do, but there is no way that we can look at what Naevys can do without first looking at her passive ability. Hawkeye is the #1 reason why you want to play Naevys, and I'm not making this up. Everything else, we talked about the stats, they are pretty impressive. We talked about the active ability, it's really good. They are all just icing on the cake. The #1 reason why you want to play Naevys is the passive ability, and that is Hawkeye. I know it doesn't look like much, plus 8 damage and plus 1 range, but that's because it's a level 1. And you can see this is not scaling heavily, at least as long as Naevys is uncommon. So if I'm investing some money here, we're going to 9, we're going to 11, we're going to 14, 15, 17. So it doesn't look like this is scaling all the way up to infinite and we're doing plus 400 or something like that. So let's look at what Anya's Hawkeye can do. It is dealing plus 140 damage at level 35. Now I know that doesn't sound like all that much, but keep in mind you can affect several units and they all do that extra damage. As is the case with a lot of these abilities in Rivengard, they scale on a very different level once you're past level 35. So let's look at what is happening on level 49/level 50. We're suddenly doing the plus 400 damage, and that is massive. That is a lot. It is a lot of investment. I mean, look at that, 250k gold just to add one more level to that. That's ridiculous amount of gold, obviously, but plus 420/plus 470 damage. You can see when you're past the levels 35, we're not looking at plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, something like that. We're looking at plus 50 from level 49 to level 50. This is how much of a difference one single level can make when your unit in Rivengard is past the 35 threshold. The legendary units, they are on their own level. They are something else. This is why Dorga is so very good, especially when you're playing her early on and all of your opponents are level 20 guys. I said earlier that the passive ability is the main reason why you want to play Naevys, and I'm gonna say something very similar about the Hawkeye. The damage output increase is nice, but the main reason why you're actually playing Naevys and the Hawkeye is the plus 1 range, because you cannot put a number on plus 1 range. And now we're gonna look at what all of that taken together about Naevys means when you see her on the battlefield. So here we see Naevys in a PvP fight. This is a very typical PvP fight. This is a video that Xaldarian recorded for me. Thank you so much again, my friend. So here we can see his Hawkeye is also leveled up a bit, but not like tremendously. His Naevys is not like bonkers or anything. She's not even a level 35 unit. So first thing you want to do, obviously you want to get out of range of the opponent because you want to make sure that he cannot connect with your units and do some damage. That makes sense. That's what you always do in a PvP fight. So here we have the positioning of Xaldarian after the first turn, and now look at what options he has due to Naevys. This is now the main reason. So what would normally happen? Normally he would have to make a decision, attack with Gix from either this position on Dorga, gives him some summons here, or he could also move Gix here or here and attack the Sunshine from here. And then he would get a lot more summons. He would also damage the same amount of units. So normally this would be the way to go, but there's one big disadvantage. If Sunshine were to explode, all of the eggs that a Gix might spawn are gonna be gone. This might be a bit controversial for you, but Gix is actually a really good unit because of his passive effect that gives extra damage whenever you connect with a unit. This is not the case when you're starting to play Gix, because then you always want the summons, and then the summons want to attack, especially if you have an Archeo on top of that. But once you're getting to the higher levels in the game, the number one thing that you really want... I'll tell you what I really want. Yeah, exactly, that's what I meant. Is extra damage when you're connecting with another unit. So, and on top of that, Naevys is doing the same thing. Naevys is already increasing the damage output of Gix, and now Gix on the other hand is going to set everybody on the opposing team up for more damage from his other units. So let's see what we're doing here. So we're moving with Naevys. We're not using the ability immediately. You want to play set up. You want to set everything up for a big play. You don't want to attack with Naevys. You want to first soften them up. So now it's time for Gix, and he has got a new target, and that new target here is the opponent's Nimrul, because Gix has +1 range. He doesn't have to decide, do I hit the dragon, do I hit Dorga? No, he's got 3 range now, and that means he can hit Nimrul. And that means that the Granny is going to be affected by the Gix effect, Dorga, the dragon, and of course Nimrul himself. And now the opposing units are softened up for Naevys herself. So now she can go and use the Swooping Hawk and hit up to 3 units. There's also a chance to use the Grandma. The Grandma also has 3 range and does more damage as long as she's next to Naevys. It makes sense to move the Grandma first, because that means that you get more skeletons. And look at this field. And now this match is over. Even before the kill command this was over, because Tim and Sunshine would have dealt with the summons instead of doing any damage, because that's what the AI likes to do. And then you have 5 units ganging up on 2 units, even if they even stand after this, because you still had so many summons, and I'm not even sure that the computer would have been able to deal with them all. This was basically done once Naevys moved in. Let's look at another PvP fight to show you something else that you might not think about immediately when you're looking at what Naevys can do. And the fact here is that because of her Hawkeye is a passive ability, you can first position a unit next to her, get the benefit from her passive. So here we can see that with the Granny, she can go here and reach a unit that is actually 1, 2, 3 spaces away rather than the regular 2 spaces. So the Granny gets the buff from Naevys, then Gix doesn't have to move too close to connect with his active, and then after you've got these benefits, you can move in with Naevys, use her active, and we saw also something else here. If you look very closely, the active ability of Naevys can crit. Just look at that. There is a crit hit here in the active ability, and to be 100% precise, it can crit every single time. So she can connect with 3 opponents and she can do 3 crit hits. This is also relevant when we're thinking about guild raid, because in guild raid you can actually hit the dragon 2 times with the active ability, and both times there is a chance for an Naevys to crit and do more damage. Speaking of guild raid, there's one more thing that you really need to know about Naevys. Let's look at the positioning of her units that she enables basically. This is another screen that I got by Raisin. So here we see a Monty that is positioned on the high ground.
It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground!
Which means he can do more damage if only he was able to connect with this web dragon here. He cannot right now, but let's scroll down a little bit. You see there's a Naevys next to him, and all of a sudden, big difference, no damage here, and suddenly he can do 675 damage thanks to the passive ability of Naevys. So basically what I'm saying is, I've hinted a couple of times at it in this video, Naevys is not a unit that just like needs to delve in and immediately do damage, use her active, and then you see what else you're doing. Naevys is a unit for a strategist. She herself is basically like a general. Unlike other generals, she likes to fight at the front line, which is very unusual. We've seen this in some of these videos that we just watched. Naevys very often is gonna end up at the very front of your squad because she wants to connect with her Swooping Hawk, with her active ability. But keep in mind, we talked about it at the start of this video, she does have Polearm. So that means she first enables you to set up some big plays. She also allows your units to stand a little bit further behind from the opponent because of the extra range that her passive gives, and then she is standing at the front, and thanks to her polearm it's going to be that much harder for your opponent to clear your backline. So Naevys is a very good unit if you know how to play her. If you ever have to make the decision, do I send Naevys in to get like an extra attack in or something, or do I have a little bit stand behind and buff 2 more units? Your option should be the latter. You always want to go for the buff. That is the main reason why you want to play Naevys. If you are a smart player, if you really like to make the most of your chances in Rivengard, Naevys is the unit for you. We talked about the equivalent of the Johnnies and the Spikes in Rivengard. There are a lot of Spike players that are playing Naevys, but you can basically unleash your inner Johnny with Naevys because it allows for so much funny gameplay. But wait, there is in fact more. Naevys also has one more thing that makes her pretty unique. She buffs the passive ability of other units. So a mediocre like Katsume, who's doing a meager 1500 damage, can now suddenly do massive damage or even more damage thanks to the passive ability of Naevys, as long as Naevys is of course next to Katsume. That leads a lot of players to that erroneous conclusion that Katsume is the best unit in Arena. She's not. She can almost one-shot an Accio, which is ridiculous because he's actually a warrior, and that means that it should be very hard for a rogue to hit a warrior. But this, well, not very impressive Katsume that we see here from a player that shall not be named can actually not take my unit down, my Accio down. And let's just, for like ending on a high note, see how the rest of this fight goes. You can tell that the opponent is kind of strong in this, but actually with a kill communion we can turn things around and get ourselves in a really good position here. Almost lost Tanamo to this Tim active, which is also ridiculous because that's normally not supposed to happen as long as there's no water involved. And then Pari, another unit that we're eventually going to take a closer look at, thanks to her block ability, is able to survive the attack from Tanamo or not even take any damage. However, I end up winning this match against a unit, opponent that is kind of good in this game and kind of known in the community. Alright, I hope that gave you a good overview of what Naevys can do. She's a very unique unit. You do not want to attack with her every turn. You actually want to have her like a little bit in the back, sometimes at the front, but she doesn't have to be at the front to shine. There's a lot of players out there that are playing Naevys incorrectly because they always storm forward with her and then they want to do damage with her. That's not what she's best being used at. She's actually the Swiss Army knife of Rivengard and she can do so much for you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something new. I promised you that you would learn something new. You can crit the dragon twice. That's one of the things that I didn't know about the active of Naevys. And the other thing is that she has the second highest single target value of an active effect in Rivengard. One small correction after looking over all of my notes, Raisin did mention that her health actually in direct comparison to other units is not super impressive, maybe not bad among the rogues, but when you look of course at warriors and some of these mages as well, like a Dorga, she's also known for having a lot of health. She does not have like a tremendous amount of health. So she's not paper thin exactly, she does have some armor, but she is not one of the healthiest units in the game. Alright guys, let me know what you think about this video. Let me know which unit you want to see me tackle next. I did give a bit of a hint which unit I'm also excited to talk about in this video. If you agree, let me know. Leave a thumbs up on this video, that would really help me and our squad. And if you want to become a part of Eternal Nexus and learn more about all the units in Rivengard and how to do the most damage against the dragons, make sure to join our Discord. Let us know that you want to be a part of the best guild in Rivengard. Actually, I cannot say that after this video because I have to give again one major shout out to the German brothers. Thank you so much to both Anya and Raisin. These guys helped me tons with this video, and also, like I said, Thunder and Xaldarian. I couldn't have done it without you guys. At the end of the day, Rivengard is actually one big family. All of the top clans actually try to get the best out of each other, and that's one of the things that I enjoy the most about this game. It's basically all about community and family.
Family just got bigger.
So let's end with that, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. See you very, very soon.